Okay. Already got.
I think we should settle down. Okay, so we are to our final theme, that is moving quality seed across borders. Uh, you know, I would say that's bread and butter for all the seed companies to be able to move seed seamlessly across borders uh, with all the possible regulations, but with all the possible efficiencies also. Um, so we have assembled a very good lineup of speakers, uh, our global experts, as well as from the NPPO from India, as well as from Thailand about talk about the third-party laboratory accreditations as well. First, I'd like to invite Rose Sudha Richards, Phytosanitary Affairs Manager from ISF, International Federation. She'll help us to understand what are the global policy changes that have happened that could impact our seed movement. Rose, all yours. Thanks.
I'm a bit small, so I need to bring this down. Good afternoon, everybody. So actually, it's a little bit different to what I would like to introduce to you all. I have talked about the global policies and recommendations for APAC. I'm taking a different angle this time. So I would like to share with you all, especially as we all here together in this wonderful venue and this Congress, to talk about how we ensure safe and efficient international seed movement. What are some of the challenges that we come through, and how can we find some solutions already on activities and initiatives that we already have? Seed is not just a product, it's a journey that spans countries, climates, and regulatory systems. Because each different step that it takes to go through across the world, it affects plant health and productivity. When we develop all these wonderful varieties, which have so many different traits, so many different characteristics, as a result of innovation, we're moving from this breeding process to multiplication, to centers of excellence to be able to meet all the different regulatory systems in the world, to only afterwards to be able to deliver, to be sold in different countries. The path, the seed journey is a long one, is a complex one, and this is what I would like to tease out and be able to go through some of these steps and how we can find some solutions for it. Why does it matter? Why seed movement matters at the international level, at the global level? We develop all these different climate resilient varieties. Make no mistake, this climate resilient varieties is an effective tool against climate change. We are developing varieties that can survive dry areas, areas that suffer from many different types of climatic regions. And so this is very important. access to innovation, we wanted to make sure that all these different innovations is accessible to all, to our farmers, to the clients, to all the consumers. International movement of seeds supports a multi-country production. Not only specific countries, but many countries have the ability to be able to produce seeds. This is why the movement of seeds at the global level is so important. And this is why it supports multi-country production. Also, it has the ability to enhance food security because of also the way that they reach out to many different countries. And finally, preserve genetic diversity. For farmers to access climate resilient and high performing varieties, seeds must move rapidly to arrive at the farmers at the right time and to safely across borders. Without predictable pathways, innovation may slow and food security can decline. This is why it's so important that we have the international movement of seeds. The world in which the seeds are moving nowadays has been changing dramatically. Climate pressures increase pest movement, and diversion rules make it even more complex than ever now. There is a more resistance to understand science and go more for the fear, the probability that would be a possible outbreak just by a single pest notification. Climate change now today is causing the emergence of many new different pests, whatever is a virus, a bacteria, or if it is a fungi. And with that, there is an increased pressure to be able to understand better this and how we can be able to manage all these new pests as a result of climate change. Because of this, because of the arrival of so many different pests, we have diversion regulations. More and more countries are taking up on themselves, instead of working together in the regional or even international approach, they are doing specific restricted measures at the national level. What it causes is that it creates a burden in terms of how we need to meet all these different challenges. There is a higher documentation level as a result of more and more regulations. But however, there is digitalization coming, introduction of tools that can help with monitoring, electronic phytosanitary certification, but also surveillance, drones, and artificial intelligence. These are opportunities that are changing the movement of seed and changing the way that there is the global landscape. There is a continued growing demand for high quality seeds. And this is why that we needed to start to look more and more how much more innovation, how much more technology we can introduce. There is many sources of risks when we moving seeds across the world. And they can be categorized as biological, regulatory, operational, and compliance. These 4 risk categories shape how seeds must move because it's how regulators, but also how industry must respond directly to these 4 different types of risks. The most critical ones being the biological one because it comes from the pest in itself, but the regulatory one because it can come as a result not only based on science, but also based on the perception or the lack of understanding how some of these pests are related to seed. How many times have we gone and talked about there is one particular article talking about that specific pest seed, it is a pathway, and then you have science being, that specific experiment being disproved over and over again by saying that actually is not. So then this is some of the risks that we see, but it's some of these risks that we needed to take up on it and try to overcome. Which are the core principles of safe seed trade? Production on the quality management system, phytosanitary risk management, traceability and transparency, how the process is conducted, and efficient science-based regulation. These 4 pillars must work together to deliver safe and efficient trade. If one fails, the system can slow or collapse. And this really is what we believe that this can allows for safe seed trade. When we have an efficient, a fit for purpose, science-based regulation, then you have regulations that will be able to allow to still manage the risk, but allow trade to continue. And this is important. The traceability and the transparency of how we're doing the work, it is very important. And this, as a result of working together with governments, then we can achieve this and create an environment where we can work together and that we can have a trust within. The phytosanitary risk management also is very important, and this is embedded together with the quality seed production. Having production of seeds and the quality management system, which pin down the concept of systems approach. This is very important, and this how we wanted to be able to allows us to be able to continue these conversations, the dialogue with all the different regulators, which is the current challenge that we see is still on the global movement of seed and how we can ensure the safe trade. Some of the current challenges we have, it is listed here, like inconsistent import requirements. As I mentioned, there is now a individuality of each country to set up its own measures. There is not so much the dialogue at the regional and the international level where they would like to work together. So then some of these measures would be a little bit more harmonized. Now, what's happening now is that each country is taking upon themselves to make its own different measures. There is a limited lab recognition, and this is going back to the international standard for phytosanitary measures number 45, where there is the accreditation of a third party, which can allow third parties to do activities on behalf of the government. There is a slow and unpredictable approvals as we're talking about the permits, which it keeps changing all the time. There is an inability that you cannot make a predictable environment where you'll be able to move your seeds because the permit you receive today is going to be different from the permit that you receive next week. There is a high administrative burden as a result of this because there is all the challenges that there is, emergency measures that take place, changes in phytosanitary requirements that just so happen so quickly. And of course, there is the climate-driven pest expansion, that this is what we see now as a result of climate change. More and more different types of pests, strains, races is coming, and then how we'll be able to deal with all of them. These challenges, they are not theoretical. They are happening continuously, and they impact all of us, not just the sector, but farmers, the regulators, and all of us. And this happen at the same level. It's not much more aggressive to ones. All of us are affected by all these different types of challenges. When the international seed movement fails, what's happened is that there is a miss on seasons. And this is crucial. That means that the whole season that specific crop has been missed. There is a delay in the variety of access. There is informal channels increase. This is really, really serious because that's what means is that then actions that could be done in the legal and formal way, because there is a failure on the system, there is a failure on the how the seeds has been moved, and then we can result in illegal practices. There is a reduce in competitiveness, and which in return will create a vulnerability on the food systems. When seeds don't arrive on time, the entire production cycle suffers. This is why the predictable movement of seeds at the international level is just so important. But let's talk about some of the solutions. As I mentioned before, harmonization is very important. Harmonization of the phytosanitary requirements. And here, there is just some of the tools that can be used. The International Seed Federation has an initiative, which is the regulated pest list. That regulated pest list does provide a technical assessment for each of the different pest crop combinations. This is done by experts, plant pathologists. There is an alignment, another tool that can be a solution for the harmonization of the requirements. It is the pest risk assessment, an alignment among different countries, among different regions. With this alignment, then the measures will be harmonized, and then that will facilitate the movement of seed. Pest list review, one of the things that we keep all the time investing time and effort is to make sure that quarantine pest lists or even regulated non-quarantine pest lists are revised constantly. Because with new addition of science, with new information coming, the review of the pest list by every single NPPO, it is very important. transparent criteria. It is important that the criteria that it is used by the governments when they are having this review of the pest risk assessment, but also the addition of new phytosanitary requirements. It is important that this is well understood, that it's clear why this is done. And what we as a seed sector has always asked, and we're still asking, is that it's underpinned by science. It needs to be underpinned by science, because this is the only way that we can understand which biology we're talking about and how we can reduce this specific issue. It cannot be ruled by fear. It needed to be ruled by science. And this is why the international agreements as well also refer to, when you're talking about the World Trade Organization Sanitary and Phytosanitary Agreement, the SPS agreement, is very much about needs to be technically justified, meaning that you need to have a specific reason why that specific measures need to be put in place. I'm afraid to say that this doesn't happen every single time, but we needed to continue insisting on this. To be able to have this harmonization of requirements, we need to continue insisting on this fight, on the fact that actually there needs to be a transparent science underpin review and criteria to be used. Predictable conditions, it needed to be making sure that it is well understood by all why these decisions are being taken, why there is a different change. Emergency measures is always a very difficult for all of us, because as the seeds needs to move from many different countries to be able to ensure that everything needs to be checked before it's being released, the consignment. However, with emergency measures, there is no time. In 24 hours, your consignment that it is on the ocean somewhere, it can stop from being compliant to non-compliant. And this really is a risk to all of us. Harmonization is not about lowering the standards, it's about aligning science, reducing ambiguity, and improving predictability. The ambiguity that I relate to is exactly this, is the fact that some of the regulations are just not clear. We needed to keep asking for more and more clarification when new measures are put in place. And this does not apply just for the phytosanitary affairs, but all the different types of legislation. It is by having this clarity, by having the dialogue, that we can understand better. And then we can reduce some of the risks that I mentioned before. And that comes with the compliant risk. I have mentioned briefly from systems approach, and I have already spoke before about systems approach. Systems approach can be one of the solutions, and we are very happy to say that the project under the International Seed Federation, where we are having a pilot program, and in this pilot program, we intended to move seeds among 4 different countries, including one Asia one, where we'll be able to show that multilateral systems approach for seeds can happen. We're using this as a proof of concept. It is a system where we're saying that multiple measures are taken to place, so not just one. Multiple actions happening during seed production. Therefore, we wanted these processes to be recognized by the NPPO, so then they can be used as already one phytosanitary measure. There is an audit-based confidence, meaning that the confidence, the trust that builds between the NPPO and the private sector comes as a result of an audit base. We have nothing to hide. Therefore, they can come, they can audit, and then we can get the confidence, the trust that is necessary to be able to use a system, such systems approach, to be able to use as a phytosanitary measure. And don't forget, systems approach, it is already listed under the international standards of phytosanitary measures as a phytosanitary measures for seeds. Plus, it is already widely used for many years for fresh produce, having already its own international standard, which is international standard number 14. It needs to be flexible. To be able to have a systems approach in place, it needs to have a degree of flexibility. It cannot be rigid to define that it needs to be done in a particular way. It needs to take into consideration the different process that they've done by the companies on different places where the seeds are produced. You cannot be rigid to say that there will be just one set of measures. It needs to have the flexibility to understand that it can, in different places of production, the measures applied are different because, of course, the organisms in place are different and the pressure is going to be different. And it should be based on international standard number 38, because this is the international standard for the international movement of seeds, but also number 45, which will allow third parties to be able to participate and also to do activities that it is in place of the NPPO, facilitating that there is more activities can be done, reducing the bottleneck that sometimes we experience so often when only the governments can do all the different activities. So we do believe that the systems approach is the way looking forward, because instead of reliant on one single test, we will build the confidence through multiple verified steps. We believe that this is the way to be going forward, and I'm very pleased to say that the International Plant Protection Convention is organizing its first workshop on systems approach, and the International Seed Federation will be there representing the seed sector at the national, regional, and international level, and will be presenting, which is the work that the ISF is doing on this. And the idea is exactly to talk to the NPPOs that will be present there, but also to show to them that we have this very forward view, that we wanted to work together with them in a cooperation manner, so then we can start to share all the knowledge that we have, because it is us who produce the seeds, and them, and try to address some of their concerns and some of their fears. Another solution when we mean to be able to continue having the safe movement of seeds is that the digital innovation. Not just electronic phytosanitary certification, but digital traceability, early warning system, pest intelligent data. There is a recent article talking about certain parts of Asia that everything from the moment where the seeds needs to be on the ground, from the types of fungicide, insecticide that needs to be applied, and also which type of chemistry that needs to be added to it. This is all done with drones and artificial intelligence. We are already doing this, precision planting. So then this is really important to take a look of all these different types of digital transformation that has already happened. There is already an understanding that this is important to be able to fight, to be able to understand better what climate changing is doing with all the different systems and patterns of the weather that we have. We needed to understand better how digital innovation can help us. This is very much to say that this is a tool. We're talking about having development of tools that can help us, that can support us to be able to have productions that are much more sustainable, and then we can continue trying to fight hunger and feed the population. It is very important that we're understanding all this innovation and understand that all these different tools, all these different innovations are tools, and that they can be used to support us and not replacing us. There is a benefits for all of this when there is this harmonization, when there is this a safe trade, to ensure the safe trade. For the governments, stronger food security, efficiency when we come about board operations, trust and transparency, access to global markets, because of course, if they have a much more efficient system, then they will start to have much more market access, and alignment with the international obligations, which is so necessary to be able to have not only the predictability, but also the harmonization. Governments stand to gain as much as us, the industry, from improved systems. What is the benefits for the industry in itself? Well, we have predictable import pathways. That means that we'll be able to send for much different trade lanes, already knowing what needs to be done. It will reduce delays, lower compliance costs, trust with the regulators, and a reliable global access. For industry, having an efficient and predictable movement of seed are key. But industry also has a lot to share. And this is always what we wanted to do when we have meetings, when we have discussion, capacity building, sharing knowledge, which we all have, data, diagnostic, and innovation. And this is very important to be able to build the cooperation and the collaboration with the governments and other international organizations. We all have roles and responsibility. The governments to have science-based regulations, again, science-based. Pest risk assessment transparency, very clear which kind of criteria they are using, very clear the process, and inclusion of the private sector during the consultation period. This is very important because, as we know how to produce seeds, being part of the conversation during the consultation period is what we can bring all the knowledge, and then we can make sure that when these phytosanitary requirements are implemented, they can be implemented in a way that is not of detrimental to none of the parties. And digital adoption is something that we have been working really hard, especially when we sit in groups like the industry advisory group, where there is a huge interest that we have much more innovation through digital tools to be able to be incorporated by the private sector, but also to have an understanding by the public sector how these digital tools are working and how they can be beneficial, not just for the private sector, but the public sector as well. The industry has some roles and responsibilities which involve production and the quality management system, sharing data to be able to build the trust between the private sector, the researchers, and the public sector. Risk management, the way that all the production is happening, how it is done, why it is done, and a capacity to support, capacity building within the different actors that are all responsible for the production of seeds. This is very important. We need to be active participants on this, not passive, not waiting, but active, always engaging, always asking the question, always being there on the table discussing why we needed to do this and why not. And of course, the international bodies, as they are responsible for the international standards, providing guides and guidelines, and also they are also responsible and part of it, of the whole picture, to be able to support capacity building. One of the projects that I'm delighted to talk about is the Standard for Trade Development Facilitation, which it is under the World Trade Organization, the STDF project 755, which ISF, ASTA, APARI, CropLife Asia, and APSA are involved, where we are providing capacity building for 7 different countries here in Asia. I know that the project is coming to an end on the next year, but it is very has been a very interesting and a very good experience to be part of it, because it is through capacity building that we can start to build things such as dialogues, trust, and also we can make a change when it comes together to some of these countries. No single actor can move seeds safely alone. It is really a shared responsibility of all of us. Our call to action is that align regulations with science, adopt risk-based approaches, because as we know, seeds are moved and they are important for different types of purposes, and that means different risk profiles, investment in digital tools, strengthen NPPO and industry collaboration, and an integration of plant health into climate resilience. One of the topics that was in discussion at COP30 last week and this week is exactly the integration and the point of discussion of Saúde Único, or One Health, where plant health is intrinsically related and interconnected with animal health, human health, and environmental health. You cannot have one without the other. So this is really important for me to say this. What we decide today affects global food systems tomorrow. Therefore, we need to act with clarity and unity. To be able to finish, I just would like to say, healthy seeds, health system, health planet. It's really important that we take this into consideration. Being part of discussions like the climate change, the COP30, as part of the seed sector, it is very important. We need to be more and more involved on discussions that have a direct impact on the activities that we do. We needed to be part of the table and need to be part of the decisions. I look forward to working together toward a world where safe seed movement supports climate resilience, innovation, and food security. And with that, I finish my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rose. Any questions for her? Okay, thanks so much. So we heard about the global changes that have been impacting the seed movement now. I now invite the NPP of India, Dr. Nagaraju. Is he? Oh, he's here. Dr. D.K. Nagaraju. We requested him to provide the recent updates in the Indian phytosanitary process. It's many things, not just, so it also talk about revising the plant quarantine order, anything about PRAs, as especially lab accreditation process.
Good afternoon, everybody. And thanks, APSA, for inviting us because we are not so welcome in many places as we are regulators. So this presentation is, you can say, continuation of the earlier presentation. So straight away, you are asking me the questions. This topic is more like an RTI application to me than a presentation. So let us see what are the updates we are looking at. We all know importance of plant health and quarantine, why we need it. It is required to protect agriculture systems, preserving biodiversity and natural ecosystems, ensuring food safety, protecting trade and economic interests. See, in India, plant quarantine is operated through an act called as Destructive Insect Pest Act 1914. Do you think it is very old act? But the rules notifications issued are as latest as today. There are many notifications issued under this act, and all these notifications were repealed. And in 2003, we introduced an order called as Plant Quarantine Order 2003, which is amended more than 100 times as of now. And now, as on today, we are working on further updating it based on the today's requirements. This is published on the web portal and hence access to all the trading partners. This is in compliance to SPS, WTO SPS agreement, because the SPS agreement requests all these things. The commodities scheduling in this order is based on the pest risk analysis, which is science-based analysis. Joint Secretary Plant Protection is the contact point for the trading partners. If they have any issues, they can always welcome to contact Joint Secretary Plant Protection. All the SPS measures stipulated in the order are aligned with international standards and guidelines issued time to time. We do have national standards in line with, in harmony with ISPMs. Based on the risk, the concerned commodities imported into India are allowed through different ports. There are notified port of entries. Their numbers on your screen. All consumption material can be imported to India through any port, a notified port of entry, whereas plants for planting and seeds can only be imported through regional plant quarantine stations. There are 7 regional plant quarantine stations in the country. There are about 754 plant pathogens notified as quarantine pests to India in the PQ order. There are 588 insects and mites, 57 weeds, 48 nematodes, and 2 snails. The Schedule 4 commodities are prohibited for import where they have a considerable amount of risk. There are no mitigation measures available for this risk. There are 15 such commodities. The same commodities can be imported under Schedule 5, but with the recommendation of a specific crop-specific research institute. And Schedule 6 commodities are regulated to import with addition declaration and special conditions. Most of your seed consignments come under this category. There are about 700 commodities listed under this. Under Schedule 7, least risk category allowed for consumption purposes. There are about 35 commodities listed as processed items which does not require plant quarantine clearances. These commodities can be directly released by the customs authorities. Let us, we have a system called as plant quarantine management system in the country, which is digitally enabled. Any trader, either importer or exporter, can use his IE code, export code, and register himself, which is uh, now integrated with DGFT, which issues the IEC code. They can, once they register in the PQMS system, they can file online applications and required documents can be uploaded. There is no need for no submission of physical copies. Our system is integrated with Customs IceGate portal, so which help in seamless release of imported shipments. The moment the consignment is cleared by PQ, plant quarantine, a message goes to the customs and released automatically. Any trader can monitor his application on real-time basis. There is a real-time communications with the trader. If there are deficiencies with the system, we notify through the system to the either importer or exporter. And all the information in the system is confidential so that commercial interest of the trader is protected. And the payment for any of the sampling and testing is done through an online portal. We have a separate portal, which is called as Bharat Khosh. And sampling procedures and sampling sizes are notified again in the PQMS system. And for each of the commodities, timelines are notified because this helps in transparency in day-to-day working. Again, inspection, sampling, sample size, testing protocols are notified. These are required as per WTO SPS agreement. We have an app-based inspection, which is GPS enabled. This is actually a game changer in the entire process of plant quarantine certification, because this happens on real-time basis. And plant quarantine inspectors inspect a consignment, upload photographs, and by the time he reaches office, the certificate will be ready, if in case it doesn't require any further laboratory testing. And any interception done at one station is sent to other stations in the form of alerts. Once all the process is completed, digitally signed certificates with barcodes are issued. And this PQM system is integrated with IPPC's ePhyto Hub. We are exchanging our export certificates with 64 countries as on today. We are receiving from 29 countries. We are in fact having a discussion with many countries, trading partners, to come on the platforms, because which will help in seamless release of shipments. So we also have a PSE authentication process through ePhyto Hub through push and pull technologies. There is also a national single window integration system wherein services of the 32 central ministries are available. We are part of it, which serves as a single platform for many services for the traders. We have been in the forefront in engaging private partners in carrying out plant quarantine activities. There are about 870 fumigators authorized by the department to carry out fumigation in case of export-import shipments. This work has been delegated to the private partners. So under different categories, and their numbers are on the screen. These activities, many of them may not be relevant to seeds, but for other commodities. We have been engaging private matters in many other activities. Here, which is of interest to seed exports, we are also engaging officers from the state agricultural departments, other ICR institutes for certification of seeds and other commodities, which help the trade. Their numbers on the screen. Here, I would also like to mention here that we have come out with a system called as National NSPM 23, National System for Phytosanitary Measures, wherein we authorize private entities to inspect the export shipments. We accept their inspection reports and issue the phytosanitary certificates. Under this, we are extending this now to seed industry also. I think there are 3 batches of officers from the seed industry have completed training program at NIPHM Hyderabad. Some of the changes, recent changes, we have made it in the regulation as per the requirement of the industries. NBPGR New Delhi has been authorized to do the functions of designated inspection authorities and also for certification of post-entry quarantine facilities. You also must be knowing that now there is no existence of EXIM committee. Instead, we have introduced a seed module in the PQMS system for import of seeds, which were covered earlier under EXIM committee. So this is what you are interested to know from us. Proposed key revisions to the Plant Quarantine Order 2003. We are looking at updation of commodity list as per the market request from the exporting countries. Updation of pest list under different schedules. And there are many member countries that have request to revise the PRA for as many as 49 species of pathogens. So you all know as a scientist, the revision of PRA takes a lot of time. So we have been working on it. There is a committee formed to revise this PQ order. Our last meeting was on 4th November. Our next meeting is on tomorrow itself. We have been working on revision. So you want simplified import conditions with ISPM 38 amendment, that is the International Movement of Seeds. We are working on it. There are requests for updating of valid scientific names. Of course, it is a basic requirement. We are working on it. Wherever the seed lots are very less, the sampling may affect the quantity of the seed for the purpose which it is intended. So there is a request to have post-entry quarantine facility for that. It is under consideration. A review of virus listing in Schedule 6. There is a request that some of them, you say there are not seed-borne or seed transmitted. So with the help of NBPGR, we have been working on this. I think probably we'll finalize this very shortly. And there are some frequent non-compliances we are getting in the exported seeds. We are working with our testing partners to update our testing protocols to avoid such non-compliances in future. So these are some updates I wanted to give about. If you want to know anything more about this, you are welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Nagaraju. Any questions for him? Seems. You are very welcome for all our meetings, sir. I'm sure everyone would like to meet you rather than avoid you.
There are already many discussions happening in the corridors. We have many bilateral meetings.
Correct, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll move on. And I'd like to invite Dr. Buninath. She's the president of Thailand Seated Association. She'll update us about the best practices on third-party laboratory accreditation, Thailand and international experience.
Hi, good afternoon to distinguished guests. Uh, Thank you, APSA. Thank you, the organizer, for giving us the opportunity for TASTA or Thai Seed Trade Association to share with you our experience. APSA call it the best practices, but I will leave you to see whether it is the best practices or not. But anyway, we have got the experience for the third-party laboratory accreditation at the international and Thailand experience for almost 3 years already. Okay. So let me start with the Thailand Seed Hub policy, because everything that we have got so far is based on the Thailand Seed Hub policy that we signed the MOU with the Ministry of Agriculture and Cooperatives, and also the National Science and Technology Development Agency, or NASDA. This is the research institution under the Ministry of the Science and Tech previously. And these three parties signed the MOU in 2013. It is the MOU on developing and strengthening Thailand Seed Hub with the objective to deliver high quality seeds to farmers and also strengthen Thai seed industry through 5 strategic pillars. The first one is research and development. The second one is the regulations. It means that new regulation, new functional regulation must be developed. And the dysfunctional or non-functional regulation has to be removed or revised. That's the key things for the regulations strategic pillars. The third one is about the human resource development. We are talking about how we can strengthen or upskill our farmers for seed production and also for the researchers and regulators as well. The fourth pillar is production and export. So this is the name that tells the activity itself that we would like to focus on seed production, and it has to be the high quality seed production. And that produced seed will be used by the Thai farmers and also for the export purposes as well. And the last one is about the infrastructure. We are talking about the irrigation system, talking about the capacity building for, in terms of the infrastructure, even including the financial support for some farmers or some entrepreneur, SME in seed industry as well. And the next one, I would like you to see that, this is the major seed production in Thailand. The first one is corn hybrid seed. Whatever the hybrid seed that we are corn hybrid seed that we are producing in Thailand, 50% is used domestically. And another 50% is for export, right? So half for corn hybrid seed produced in Thailand. They are exported. The second group is the vegetable seeds. 45% is for domestic use and 55% is for export. Rice seeds, 100% for domestic use, because by the Thai law, we can export only rice grains, but not rice seeds, right? So this is and that's why what I am going to talk next, and especially under the Thailand Seed Hub policy, we will talk justly for corn, a few corn seeds and vegetable seed. We don't include the rice seed in this program. It has been separated in the other scheme in Thailand. And okay, and I would like to say this one is quite to give time with this one. So you see that this is the value of the Thai seed export from 2009 to 2024 last year. And you see that in terms of the million US dollars, in the year of 2013, we were at 155 million US dollar export value, inclusive of the hybrid corn seed and vegetable seed. And that is the year. It was the year that we signed the MOU on the Thailand Seed Hub with the Ministry of Agriculture and also the National Science and Technology Development Agency, TASTA is one key person. And in that MOU on the signing date, we talk and we put more objective in the policy that let's challenge ourselves. Can we double the export value, right? From 155, okay, let's start with 300 or 310, something like that, million US dollars. So that was the real challenge. And we try to raise the bar high because it will be the challenge for the private sectors, for the member of TASTA as well to challenge ourselves. How can we make our business grow? And at the same time, it is a challenge for the regulators that how can they help us to grow? And this is the thing that from the goal and target to increase or double our export value. It has come to the term that, okay, the government would like to support ease of doing business. We have been talking about the ease of doing business long time ago, but we get seriously in 2013 about ease of doing business. But we asked the government that we cannot just say that we will improve the ease of doing business ranking for Thailand, but we have to do something. And to do that, it means we would like to see the change and real change from on the regulator side as well. And we got the agreement together between public and private sectors. The regulators agree that we will change, we means on the regulator part, from the controlling regulator to the facilitating regulator. And this is a key change in mindset of the regulators and also very encouraging for the private sector to see that kind of the change. It is not a sudden change. It takes time. And even now, we are still working on that kind of the change. But we have seen the result because after 2013, you see that our export value is starting to grow. So when in the last slide that I show you that roughly half of the seed, corn seed produced in Thailand, as well as the vegetable seed produced, half is for domestic use as well. And this ratio has been like this since 2013 or even before so far. So you can see that, okay, if we export 150 million US dollar, it means another 150 million US dollar is for the domestic market as well. So, okay, we started to grow up from 2015. So you see that from the start, it's quite good start. And then we keep growing, and then COVID came. So in 2019, the COVID started to alert us that we have to plan to do something because something seriously wrong could happen anytime. And it happened in early of 2020 that we got the lockdown. And in that year, it was the chaotic situation. We were going to harvest our seed production for corn and vegetable, everything. But the lockdown came. So how can we do the field inspection? How can we transport seed from the field site to the processing site and even to the port or airport? So okay, let's start with the first thing first. We TASTA discussed with the DOA that how can we make sure that we will have enough seed for export to maintain our export market and also to serve the domestic market as well. And with that, we based our discussion on strategic pillars that we signed the MOU for Thailand Seed Hub. And we got the idea that, okay, since we can do meeting online, why can't we do field inspection online? And that's what we started to do the things together. But the regulators, they cannot travel from DOA officer, they cannot travel from Bangkok to the field sites. So that means employee of the seed company, seed producing company has to be on site, right? Because they are they were on the site already in each province already. So they were taking like an iPad or iPhone, walking through the field according to the instruction of the regulator sitting in the meeting room in Bangkok. It was torture for all parties, but we did it. So inspection that used to finish in 6 hours, it took us almost 2 days, but we did it. And at the end, we could get the seed as we wanted, and then we can maintain export value in 2019, 20, and 21. It didn't drop, so we were so happy about this one. And with this, we talked to the DOA again that, okay, it was the not so nice experience for the online inspection, field inspection, but we did it. So let's talk about what we can help each other if something happened. But if something did not happen, what we could develop today, it will help us to reduce the workload. It will help us to streamlining all the red tape or whatsoever. So it will speed up and the production and also the export accuracy as well. So this is the experience and the idea formulated from the experience that we did the online field inspection together. So in 2020, while we were doing the online field inspection, TASTA have been talking with the different group of the NPPO that, okay, let's develop the concept of conceptual development of the third-party C-test lab accreditation, because, I mean, to accredit the field inspection at the first place, it will be too difficult and too complicated things to do. So let's do with the lab first. And, you know, the meetings and, you know, formulation of the concept and proof of concept were done online 100%. So in 2020, we formulated the conceptual development. We did the conceptual development. And in 2021, based on the concept that we developed together with the Department of Agriculture, the regulators, we did two things in parallel. One thing is to revise the regulation to authorize third-party C-test lab accreditation. And the second activity that runs in parallel is the try to do the proficiency test of the applicant for the accreditation, because we hope that when the COVID gone, it means that the revised regulation is in place to authorize third-party lab accreditation, and the applicant is ready to get to get certification. And we did that in 2 years, 21 and 22. And in November 22, the DOA issued the revised regulation to authorize the third-party C-test lab accreditation just 2 weeks before we get the, we organized the Asian Seed Congress 2022 in Bangkok. And if any one of us joined at that time, DG of DOA, he announced in the inaugural ceremony that he just signed off the revised regulation for C-test lab accreditation. And he was talking that, okay, next step is for gene editing, and then the gene editing came last year. So back to the C-test lab. It means that because we did two things in parallel, so it means that in January 2023, when everything came back to normal, we got the first certification of the third-party C-test lab accreditation. And I have to tell you that the certification is per crop and per pest. So it means that, okay, company A apply for testing tomato brown root rot virus and phosphoviroid in tomato. That is what the scope of the accreditation. If they would like to test these two same virus in chili or in peppers, they have to apply for pepper as well, because the certification will be per crops and per pest. Those who are certified, if they are the seed company, they can do the seed test by them for their own products. And with the certification, it means that they can submit the test report to DOA. And DOA can take a short time to consider the accuracy of the test result in the report, and then they can issue the phytosanitary certificate in a very short time under the e-phyto system, right? So this is very efficient, and the right now, so far in 2025, there are 4 seed companies accredited to do the seed test. Seed test. Each company has a different scope because it depends on the interest or the purpose of each company, how they would like to expand their scope of accreditation. But we also, in addition to these 4 seed company who got accreditation already, 1 service lab is also accredited as well. And this is very important because other companies that don't have their own lab facilities, it will be huge investment for them to get the lab in the quick time. But so this service lab that got accreditation is a big solution for those companies that they can send the sample to be tested at the service lab as well. But anyway, DOA lab is still running and active to support companies or to support testing the pest that it is not included in the accreditation scope yet. Okay, so with that, let me go back to the previous slide a little bit. So you see that after the first when they get the accreditation done, so you see that the spiking up of the export value, because it means we can cut short the time to get the phytosanitary certification. And in 2024, we could reach to 380 million US dollar export value. So now everyone is happy because we reached the target that we even over the target that we set in 2013. And now the DOA and Ministry of Agriculture is asking TASTA that, shall we try 485? I just smile and I haven't said anything yet. So it depends on our member together. But I said, sir, I think we think it is possible for 480 million US dollars. But let's go ahead with the field inspection accreditation, because it means that we got the accreditation for seed test in the lab, right? But according to the requirement of the importing country, field inspection pay maybe 50% of the role to comply with the import requirements. And that's why now TASTA and DOA is working on field inspection accreditation. In this year, in April this year, DOA made the official appointment of the working group on field inspection accreditation that comprised members of the TASTA and DOA or the NPPO to work together to develop the training curriculum for field inspection accreditation. And we will do the training, and we hope that in 2026, the training curriculum should be complete and ready to be used for training, and the proficiency test can be done maybe in late 26 or early 27, depends on how fast we can work with the training curriculum. And hopefully that by late, maybe in 27 or 28, that should be the first class of the accredited field inspector to work in the field. So DOA will just move themselves up to be a full-time regulator. They don't have to do this kind of the inspection or whatever. They can use the resources from the private sector to work with them. But DOA regulators still supervising us, right? Because the authority to issue phytosanitary certificate is still with DOA. Private sector is the one who fulfill and help to increase resources for DOA to complete the test or the inspection in a very short time and in an efficient way as well. Okay, so I just would like to finish my presentation today, not just only the field inspection, because the happiness that we have with the DOA at this moment, everyone is quite enjoying the collaboration. Field inspection is ongoing, but we have one more project coming up from the Seed Hub policy as well, which is the International Vegetable Variety Exhibition in season of 26 and 27. And this one is this collaboration. Many of you might have seen this information that we sent the email to invite all of you already. But this is another example of the collaboration between DOA, the Department of Agriculture, TASTA, and then APSA and University, Kasetsat University. So we used this Thailand Seed Hub together with the University Connect program of APSA to do this program together. So please visit and find out more information in this QR code. And this is the thing that I would like to end here, that once we get the collaboration and we work together as sister and brother segment, no matter they are regulators or they are the private sectors, but we have the same goal. We have the same objective, and no matter challenges that we have been facing or we will be facing, it doesn't matter. We will be together. We will work together. I think we have proof that that this is a success, but we are not take it for granted that the success will last for long. Challenge always coming up to us. So, but we think that the way that we have been working and collaborating closely with the regulators and the Department of Agriculture will help us to pass through those challenges now and in the near future. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Kunal. Any quick question for her? No? Well, I think that's very interesting to see how Thailand has moved ahead. Perhaps other parts of our region also would take inspiration from that as well. So seed movement is all commercial people pursue also, but it also can impact and it can be beneficial for our part of the world. To explain that, I invite Mr. Saba Asper from the OECD seed scheme to talk about that.
Thank you very much. And I'm happy to come back to India. As you may not know, but India is one of our valuable members of the OECD Seed Scheme, and India hosted our annual meeting in June in Hyderabad. So it's a pleasure to come back again to India. Also, our annual meeting was a good opportunity to organize a policy workshop just to explore the situation of the seed markets in the Asia-Pacific region. And on the organization of this policy workshop, we work very closely with APSA. And I would like to thank Francine for the collaboration and also the member companies of the APSA who participated in this event. So as a follow-up of this event, we were invited also to present you the benefits, the potential benefits of the OECD Seed Scheme to the companies in the Asia-Pacific region. Maybe I would like to start my presentation with an overview of the OECD seed schemes, who may not know exactly what we are doing. So the OECD seed scheme is an international framework for seed certification, particularly certifying the varietal identity and purity of the seedlots. You may need to know that OECD is the one global benchmark standard for this kind of certification activities and is recognized in a broad range of countries. Officially, we have 64 countries. You can see on the map in orange color the member countries in the world. You may recognize that we are covering very well the European region, North Africa, and the key countries, seed-producing countries in Latin America. I know, yesterday it was mentioned that Chile is a good example for seed production and which could be used as a role model for Asian countries to develop seed sector based on Chile's strategies. And Chile is also a member of the OECD seed scheme. We are expanding in Africa in the last years as food security concerns in Africa is very high, and seed is considered as one of the most important tools to deal with food security problems. In Asia, we have already few countries who participating in the seed scheme. As I mentioned, India is a member, also Japan, and we have Australia, New Zealand. Iran is also participating, and we are in discussion with other Asian countries already to join the seed scheme. So these are in a different status of discussions. But I would just like to mention, like China is one of them who is working with the OECD on that application or cooperation with OECD. We are quite an old program. We were established like almost 70 years ago. And we are covering most of the agricultural crops, which is our main business, to certify the seed of agricultural crops. So we have 7 agricultural crop schemes. So you can imagine all oil crops, cereals, maize, and all of the important crops. And we have one scheme, which is the vegetable seed scheme, which is a bit different from agricultural crops, as mostly vegetable seed is certified or moved based on the responsibilities of the private companies, and governments are less involved in that kind of certification, although that is growing government involvement in vegetable certification in some regions. We are also covering more than 70,000 varieties. And if we compare our statistics, OECD statistics, with the statistic of the International Seed Federation, OECD certified seeds are covering about 1/3 of the international trade of agricultural crops. This number is even higher because that is recognized as OECD certified seed, but many national and regional standard and certification systems are based on the OECD. So the impact is much higher than the 1/3 of the international trade. Just very briefly, what we are doing is that when a breeder develops a variety, he or she will have a handful of seed which need to be multiplied to reach a commercial quantity of those seeds, and it need to go through a different multiplication cycle, as you know. And the OECD certification system ensure that the genetics of that variety remain intact during this multiplication cycle and seed production cycle. So most of the key processes and need to be traced, at least by OECD, and we have key inspection points like the field inspection of the seed producing fields, also sampling. We work together with the International Seed Testing Association on seed analysis and packaging, labeling, and fastening the seed bags. So why Asia Pacific countries and companies would be interested in seed certification or joining the OECD seed schemes? I would mention several higher level policy goals, which is valid also to other countries in the world. But as you know that the population is growing and the food demand is rising, we have a climate pressure. We recognize those challenges in 3 points: that the agricultural production need to feed the growing world population, and that is also valid in the Asia-Pacific region. The other key important element is to provide livelihood to farmers and seed producers. And we have to do these issues on a sustainable way, because that's very important these days. The countries, they realize that a resilient food system starts with a high quality seed. And this is why, especially in like Africa region, we see government's interest for certified or seed certification. We also heard in this meeting also that the Asian countries and seed companies, they have a growing export potential across diverse destinations, different parts of the world. And OECD would facilitate the access to these new markets, because in some regions, OECD certification is a requirement to access to those markets. As we learned in June that most of the APSA member countries or member companies, they are the main vegetable and seed exporters and vegetable seed exporters and importers. But also some of the field crops are important also in Asia, like rice, wheat, maize, soybean, or cotton. Also, like we learned from Thailand that there are some national certification system exist in many of the Asia-Pacific countries. So that would be a good basis to join the OECD. If a country has a good national certification system, it's relatively easy to join and fulfill the requirements of the OECD. On these slides, I collected you some of the main reasons why the newly joined countries, they signal to us why they want to join, why they invest resources and energy to join the OECD seed scheme. And I think it's the best marketing if those countries tell you why they wanted to do that. Some of those reasons are policy goals connected to food security. For example, to reach seed self-sufficiency in the country is very important these days, when some of the seed trade, they were blocked because of different reasons, conflicts or the COVID. So some of them, they really want to increase that self-sufficiency. Also, they want to increase their production and productivity of the agriculture. And they, again, recognize that high quality seed and new varieties, they can contribute to that food security goal. Many countries want to push farmers to use certified seed. And this is not because it's a certified seed, it's just to ensure that the farmers have a better livelihood, better yield on that field, which would also contribute to a national food security goal. Then it's not only policy goals, but business considerations were also taken into account. The countries, they want to attract investments in their seed sector. And if a country uses internationally recognized regulatory framework, such as the OECD or the International Seed Testing Association, UPOV, IPPC, those regulatory frameworks would be necessary and facilitate to attract foreign investment to the national seed sector. And that is very important, because then it would boost the national seed companies' income and also for the seed producing farmers. So that's very important. Also, they want to be competitive in an international level. So I think I heard yesterday that many of the Asian countries, they have this kind of ambition to be like the seed hub for Asia. So and also beyond Asia, and if you want to be that, it is also useful if you have all the tool to access to all markets where you want to export seed. And the last one, but not the least, let's say, is to protect the farmers from the use of substandard seed or fraud. Fraud is a big issue, which we always have a discussion, how can we combat fraud? Particularly, we have always a discussion and exchange of information with the International Seed Federation. So that is a real concern, and traceability of the seed production could contribute to this fight against counterfeit seed. I would give you some insight, again, saying why the OECD seed schemes, and I would start that with more the business case, and then maybe later on the policy, higher level policy goals, which if I would present this to governments, maybe that would be the starting point on policy. But as we are in a business or a seed company meeting, better to start with business. So as I mentioned, the OECD seed scheme is the benchmark standard on the international trade. We are recognized by 64 countries. And not only the countries, but economic regions recognize the OECD. And some of them, they require OECD certification, especially for agricultural crops. That is the case in the European Union. If you want to trade with the European Union countries on agricultural seed, you need to have an OECD certification. That is also a case if you want to multiply seed to European companies, then that is also needed to put this multiplication to Asia, that they are able to import those multiplied seed to Europe. The other region is Mercosur, Latin America. In the Latin American or the Mercosur rules, they require OECD or AOSCA certification for those basic seed which will go there for further multiplication. And this is also valid for vegetable seed, which we recently learned from Brazil. The other region is Africa, COMESA and SADC region. So this is the East and Southeast South African region, where they have a regional standards for seed certification, but also they use the OECD as a benchmark standard, and they use OECD certified seed among the trade between the region. Those countries in Africa, East Africa, many of them, they introduced compulsory certification for vegetable seed. So again, if you wish to trade with those countries in that East African region, it's also beneficial if you are able to provide OECD certified seed to your partners in that region. Also, if you use international standards, it's easier to make business because it's easier to make the contract with your counterparts in the other part of the world. It can also reduce the transaction cost because it's a predictable rules, and OECD is practically the only international system for this varietal identity and purity certification. So you would need to apply only the OECD standard, and you would have a broad range of access to markets. And also international recognition is very important. If the country has joining those international organizations, then is the reputation of the country, which would also help the seed sector to trade with the other parts of the world. Not only international trade is benefiting from the OECD, but yeah, the national systems, they also could be benefiting from the OECD. The first thing what I wanted to mention that the OECD is a voluntary certification system. So if a country joined the OECD, it does not mean that all the companies in the country need to apply OECD standards. The country can maintain the national systems, but it would be an opportunity that if it's needed, the OECD certificate could be issued by the government. I already mentioned that it is also attract business and also market opportunities for local breeders to access international market. I mentioned the counterfeit seed and also encourage the higher uptake of certified seed. So it would create business for seed companies, that farmers would use more certified seed. On the higher level policy goals, I mostly mentioned that, but all related to food security issues and food system resilience goals. And I just wanted to spend like 1 or 2 minutes on like how OECD can facilitate the accession to the OECD. We have a well recognized capacity building program. Countries can request trainings from the OECD, and we have highly qualified trainers and again recognized program for training. Like recently, we are working with the G7 countries to train African countries on seed certification, and we are collaborating with our partners, the International Seed Federation, just to mention the main partner. We can provide twinning, like countries can help the other country to develop the seed sector. We can provide an observer status in the OECD seed scheme for 3 years, that the government officials can come and observe the discussions at the OECD. And we are providing guidelines, checklists to facilitate the accession process so that you are clear what are the technical requirements which you need to meet. On the accession procedure is about 1 year process if everything is in place in the country. There is a certain process, and I think the presentation will be shared. I just don't want to go through all the points, but technical requirements need to be met, and then it has to be approved by the members of the OECD seed scheme in a consensus base, but all the countries need to agree. And then the country can join the OECD and participate in the standard setting activity and exchange information between the countries. So thank you very much. All the information on the OECD seed scheme is on the website, which you can see on the screen. You can contact me or the secretariat, and we are also active on X or other social media platforms. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sava. Sorry to cut you off, but well, the final presentation of this session and for all the technical session is from Kaula from International Seed Federation, and she would be talking about the movement of seed and grains which are developed through genome editing.
Thank you, Shivendra. And I know I'm standing between you and the bar, so I'm trying to have this presentation as smooth and easy as possible. So to finish this session on seed movement and trade, Shivendra asked me to give you a little bit overview of how the seed sector is looking for an even predictable environment for genome-edited crops across borders. So I wanted to start with some facts on genome editing, as already have been mentioned during this session today, but also yesterday. Only a handful of products have really reached the marketplace, not as you have seen it yesterday, nearly 9,070 applications, but really few that are in the marketplace. Those applications are still in the research and development pipeline. And what is clear is there is a clear benefit of these products to consumers, the environment, and agriculture. And in terms of policy-wise, genome editing policy is evolving globally since 10 years, but is still fragmented. And in this space, the movement and trade of even genome-edited seeds and products across border is still hindered by this policy fragmentation. And as already mentioned by Rose, the seed business is global, and securing global seed supply and production also for genome-edited product depends on the combination of biological, logistical, and regulatory factors. And finally, Many genome editing applications, as already have been mentioned by Mark, result in final product with no foreign DNA and no novel combination of DNA. And therefore, we need, as an industry, a predictable science-based policy that allows genome-edited seeds and their product, whether it is commodity or fresh produce, to enter the market and also to cross borders. And this has been published by ISF through various publications. You see them on the screen on the right side. But really, the underlying principle is that plant varieties developed through the latest breeding techniques should not be regulated if they are similar or indistinguishable from varieties that could have been produced through earlier breeding methods. And what we really need is an agreement among government on the criteria how to determine the scope of the regulatory oversight of these products. So as I mentioned, only few genome-edited products reached the marketplace, and all have been considered conventional products. You see there, 2019 in the US, it's Catalino product on oil, on a soybean oil, and then followed by Japan in 2022 by the GABA tomato, and then in 2023 in the US, the conscious product from Pairwise. And there have been also, as Mark has mentioned, the product that have been cleared through the regulatory pathway in Kenya, this MLN gene in maize, and also Tropic with the reduced non-brown in banana that have also received clearance from the regulatory authorities in various countries. And again, you see there really it's about improving the nutritional quality, reducing environmental impact, enhancing crop resilience, and reducing food waste. We've been tackling at ISF since many years the policy worldwide, and we have been publishing and updating an ISF policy map that most probably many of you are familiar with. So I will just give you a brief overview of how we classify the countries in this policy map. So we do base the differentiation on plant breeding innovation product from GMO legislation by at least one agency. And we look at only published regulation or published draft proposal within a regulatory scope that is for food, feed, and environmental use, and only for plant. And just to guide you through the color coding, there you have dark green. We consider a country dark green with the dark green colors when we have a clear differentiation from a GMO regulation by at least one agency or one authority. Then we have a purple color where products are considered GMO, but with a simplified assessment procedure or requirement. And finally, we have all products that are considered GMO, then the color is red. And you have the unpublished or the published draft proposal where we have light green is similar to the dark green, but still draft proposal. And then the yellow is similar to the purple one, again, unpublished published proposal, but it's still in proposal phase. So within a decade, we are really encouraged by positive development of policies around the world. And then we have in our map 30 countries that turned into green, 13 in the America, 9 in the APAC region, 6 in Africa with UK and Israel. And the policy approaches in practices when there is a GMO regulation, there is a revision of this GMO policy with some simple criteria for inclusion, exclusion from the GMO regulations. So it could be either you don't have a foreign DNA, or you don't have a novel combination of DNA, or as per edit type in some countries, as have been mentioned in the earlier session today. So then once you have that, you have a determination, and what you see is on the left side, you can determine by yourself as a developer whether you are conventional, and if you are in conventional, these are some countries that tells you, yeah, go for the marketplace. And in some other countries, you need a technical consultation with regulator providing data. So as an example, Australia in 2019, they said, all the site-directed nucleases 1 product are exempt from the regulation. FSNs recently have also said no novel DNA. It's also all the products are exempt. They published really a nice definition around that. Japan in 2019, they considered SDN1 not GMO. SDN2 varies by agency. And Canada, they published their regulation in 2022 were stating that exemption of traits is when the trait is not novel and when there is no foreign DNA in the final product, then there is an exemption from the GMO regulation. US, you have the 3 different agencies there, USDA, case-by-case exclusion, EPA require notification, and FDA is a voluntary pre-market meeting. When you look at the technical consultation with regulatory or data, Argentina comes the first in 2015 when there is a really clear differentiation of genome-edited products from GMO with a case-by-case decision. What I really want to highlight for Argentina is their system that the industry can go very early in the research and development phase. What they have is what they call PCI, is a formula that you go through the internet and submit your product, and they will clear you from the GMO regulation very early in the process. In the Philippines, SDN1, SDN2, not GMO. Thailand, case-by-case exemption if no foreign DNA is present in the final product. India, SDN1, SDN2 without foreign DNA are not GMO, but SDN3 might be considered as GMO. What is really surprising with the SDN3 is you can still have take a big chunk of DNA and put it in another area of the genome without incorporating any foreign DNA with the genome edited tool. So it's important to go through really more future-proof way of approaching the policy towards genome editing, where you have like no foreign DNA, no novel combination of DNA. So here I would like to show you an animation that we created at ISF to show you the policy development of PBI around the world since a decade. So it started with red in 2014 with New Zealand, then from the left, first camera was Argentina, followed by Chile, Brazil, Israel, and then you see EU is red because of the EU court ruling. Then you have USA, and then you can start already seeing some colors in Africa, and then followed by Canada and countries in the APAC. So it's really showing the nice navigation where you have at least what we see 3-4 countries per year changing their regulation around the world. So this is how it looks like when we put everything in one slide. It's a busy slide, but just giving you the flavor that policy around the world is a little bit fragmented. You have different colors with a lot of text in there. The text is just to show you that we have the trigger, whether it is foreign DNA, not foreign DNA, SDN1 and not SDN2, etc., depending on the country. And what I really want to highlight is there you have EU, there is a policy proposal suggesting 2 categories, as you know, the category 1 NGT1, which would be considered as conventional-like, and the category 2 is a more GMO-light perspective. So it's still in 2 colors in the EU because there is a proposal which is still in discussion. Switzerland has also put forward a policy proposal excluding certain genome-edited products without foreign DNA, in difference with EU, but you need to show that there is an added value for agriculture and the environment and the consumer. England is really, with the Brexit, they have changed the regulation, and now the bill has entered into force as of 13th of November, and then the Precision Act can be really followed. So now I want to switch to the trade and the movement of seeds around the globe, and to give you a little bit of flavor how the journey of seed from breeding innovation to global market and trade also accounts for genome-edited product and seeds. So this map shows you different steps. As you know, seeds crosses borders several times, from breeding to testing to production, processing, and sales, as have been mentioned by Rose earlier. We need, for breeding, like for vegetable or agricultural crops, the location for research and development, then go into trialing and testing in different countries. And you see there on the map different colors for different countries. Then production, you need a suitable climate and window for new developed variety to produce and sustain the supply of selling country. Then moving to number 4 for processing, where you need expertise, and there is a shipment of bulk of seed back to for cleaning, treating, and packing. And finally, to global sale, where you would have sale and distribution among various countries. So this for genome-edited product, you need to comply, as I mentioned, in the policy map to the national regulation, but there is also another layer, is the international regulation, as already had been mentioned by various speakers, and Mark has mentioned that earlier as well, and Shaba with the OECD for agricultural crop. So the key supply chain is around 4 steps, 2 in the research and development phase, with 3 in the seed production, marketing, and trade phase. And you see there, genome editing really reduces this breeding cycle. This is for regular breeding up to 8 years, but with genome editing, you can reduce that into a relatively short number of years. And then when you look at the map, as I mentioned earlier, you look, for example, on tomato, and you say, okay, how can I go through this regulatory oversight for my products? So the Netherlands is question mark because it's in the EU. We still, at least now, it's if you start with the product, is considered as GMO. Then you want to test it in the various countries. Then China would be considered as GMO. India, if it is an SDN 1 or 2, it can tick a box. Mexico, there is no regulation at this stage. Nigeria, there is a regulation. Then move into production. Again, India, SDN 1 and 2. Chile is a tick box. Netherlands, back to processing and final sale. There you have different tick box, Brazil, US, Nigeria, if the requirement is met by the authority. So it's really complex to navigate through the various legislative process for genome editing. And in addition to this, if you think through how a product is put on the marketplace and going through deeper in detail what the industry needs to comply with through the various steps from variety development to product trading, then they have to comply in addition to it for varietal development. For example, you have the international treaty and convention, as Mark has mentioned, in addition to the breeding technology specific regulation for pre-market approval. Then you go for a variety registration where you have DUS and VCU testing. You can go through IP protection, and that's voluntary, as also Mark has mentioned. And if there is a requirement for registration per national law, it will require some time. And again, in addition to that, you have the genome edited technology specific regulation for certain market, and so on and so on. With the seed production, you have to produce commercial volume and scale up from parental and commercial seeds. With you have again a QA step and national seed law for seed production, whether it is row crop, it could be OECD, it could be AOSCA, it could be in the national law. For vegetable, as it was mentioned, you have standard seed and in addition pre-market requirements. So it's really making the full cycle quite complicated. And when you go to seed marketing and seed trade, and then you have an additional layer with labeling, packaging, storage, transport, etc., subvention, and even sustainability requirement, as you see, is a question mark for some there. And again, you have here an additional requirement for pre and post-market assessment. For when you go to through trading, then again, you have an additional requirement for international trade and rule, where you have ISTA, OECD for agricultural crop, IPPC, as Rose had mentioned earlier, in addition to WTO. And you have been hearing since 1 year the tariff, and that adds us to the complexity of compliance towards putting a product to the market. And then it adds up also towards the distribution via the value chain. So the value chain has to recognize whether it is a GMO, it's a conventional or genome editing, and so on and so on. So it is really complicated throughout the life cycle of the product. And that's why at ISF we started having this industry experience with a few products that have been put on the marketplace with various jurisdictions, and where we thought, okay, we need to explain the challenges and opportunities of these unharmonized genome edited policy to provide experiences of the industry, but also best practices from the government. And here I have a short video that you would like to share with you. It's a call for policy action, so I would like to let you hear. And you see here potential trade disruptions. So it's really about having the right future-ready genome edited policy to ensure trade. Okay, that was for the video. And as I said, please take a look at the statement. Oops. So I just want to go through my last slides here, just to give you a flavor of how we as industry feel about what should be best practices, and providing really example in the statement I have shared. We need first an early regulatory clarity to enable the path to R&D success. And as I mentioned earlier, Argentina was one of the key countries that have changed the regulation early days already in 2015, and they have also will be changing their normative quite soon to really enable the adaptation of new elements in the technology. And what they have did really back in the days is to allow what they call prior consultation instances, where industry can provide already in early development phase some few data, and they will be cleared from a GMO regulation. So you see there on the left side the graphic showing really the number of PCI that have been shared through 10 years, and you see an increase in the PCI from 2023 to 2024 to 60 PCIs. And what we see also, what we have mentioned in our statement, is the shift towards precision bred crops in England for field trials. And you see there in dark green the PBO trial versus the GMO field trial in yellow. And you see an increase really difference between 2022, 2023, when there is a reduction of GMO trial, because you can notify easily DEFRA if you want to go through field trial in the UK. We also have called for consistent and risk proportional data requirement. This is really to encourage innovation, and this is importantly to enable pre-market data requirement to boost evaluation requests from diverse developers. And in Argentina, we have the data from them showing that even there is more towards SMEs applying to the regulatory interface, and not only multinational as it used to be for GMO. Japan is the same, is SME, as you see it there in dark green, with 67% versus multinational is 1/3. And then the US is the same with more, even SMEs 93%. So the technology is really used by SMEs, and we would like that we need a consistent and risk proportionate data requirement to encourage all industry players to use the tool and to be able to produce products that go through the regulatory interface and go to market. And finally, as I mentioned earlier in one slide, we need to consider also the post-market and trade aspect, and that's where we highlighted Canada for their transparency initiative, where the industry developer can notify the government from a transparency perspective and towards the consumer. And you see there that in the red bar is notification of genome edited line through only one set of notifications. So they make the system is very easy so that it is transparent for consumer and for no need for market post-market post-market initiative. It's just a transparency initiative through their website. And also the seed industry is also having this transparency initiative. They created also a website where the industry is sharing the information. Another important thing that I really wanted to highlight is that Brazil and Argentina have signed a mutual recognition system for governing genome editing. And we feel this is a best practice that could be expanded multilaterally to mitigate trade of genome edited product. Another one is in Honduras, where they also looking for regional harmonization of criteria, whereby the National Committee of Biotechnology and Biosafety will cooperate with regional initiative in order to harmonize the technical criteria and preserve the commercial interchange and consider products in the same way. And I'm not going through this is because we already mentioned in the video, but we really want to highlight that the call is to go away from the GMO mindset, as mostly all the products that go through genome editing are indistinguishable from conventional products. So the idea is to embrace equivalence of genome editing and conventional breeding, strive for an optimized path to market for genome edited product, and we really need a prioritization of early regulatory determination like what Argentina has put in place. This is very important so that you can go already and discuss with investors and move ahead with your program, R&D program, which is costly, knowing that there are all different steps that I have shared already to put a product in the marketplace in a safe and performance and quality manner. And what we also ask to set a proportionate, cost-effective pre- and post-market requirement and facilitate this synchrony among regulatory determination. If you remember the slide with the tick box for regulatory strategy, where a country is red, the other country is green, and from the industry point of view, you have some of them have thousands of trade lanes. So logistically, it's very important to understand that early advance in the research and development pipeline so that you can really invest in a product. And one thing is we see that we are going away from one edit to edit. The idea is now to use, as Mark has mentioned, genome editing as a breeding tool to create germ plasm. So you can think of genome editing as a tool to create like TILIN or EMS population, and going from that variation and choose through the breeding cycle the characteristic that you want. And finally, it's really important to educate society on the benefit of plant breeding innovation. So benefit is very important, and we, as I mentioned, products are really there to benefit the society, the agriculture, and the environment. And genome editing is allowing also the use of the technology in what we call orphan or orphan crops, so underutilized crops. And we have seen research in yam, in cassava, in Africa, and also in many in trees. So we really need to embrace the technology to help the global challenges and support UN development goals. And this is my last slide. It's really going back to the seed movement at trade is a critical to allow innovation to reach farmer and consumer. And today, policy fragmentation really delays access to healthy and more resilient crop. And we feel that there would be disruption in trade for seeds, for commodity and fresh produce, etc. Knowing that the seed is a base for many products, not only commodity and fresh produce, but textiles, other industry like pharma industry and so on, we really feel it is important to go away from the GMO mindset and have this policy harmonization and with consistent criteria. Because many application of genome editing technology, finally, they result in the final product with no foreign DNA, no novel combination of DNA, so like conventional breeding. We need a consistent approach among countries. As you have seen, there are different approaches, some with SDN, some with foreign DNA, some need various application for the same edit. Predictability is a key for the industry. And of course, speed matters. Innovation must keep with the global challenges, knowing that we are facing climate change and food and nutritional insecurity, and policy should act as enabler, not an obstacle. And we need to bridge the gap between all the scientific discovery and real world application. And building public trust is really key and means also as industry, but also as government, change how to communicate the narrative. We need to provide the narrative about the benefit, about not the technology. Many consumer, if you ask them, can I use genome editing to cure you from a disease? I would definitely say yes. When it comes to food, it's a little bit difficult to change. So we need also as industry, but also as government to work together around this communication and to get away from the GMO mindset. We need a cross-sector collaboration to scale solutions globally. And as you have seen, seeds travel around the world, and cross-sector collaboration is key. And finally, the policies need to evolve. And Argentina is one of the cases where they are now changing the regulation to evolve with the update of the technology. And finally, just as the FAO Secretary General in the last biotech conference said, you need to evolve with adaptability because you need to adapt yourself towards the changes. With this, I just would like to finish with one quote from Dr. Ngozi at the public forum last year, where she said, trade policy alone is insufficient to achieve global economy. Complementary domestic policy are necessary to make trade and the wider economy in general work for everyone. And with this, thank you for you, and I'm happy to take any question.
Thank you, Paula. Any questions for her? No?
Thank you.
I call upon all the speakers to come to the stage for a photograph, please. Where is Rose? Rose Sharma. Is not there. Please come. Thanks to all participants for staying late for this session. Thank you so much.
How do you say your business class?